Well, hello everyone. I thought I would give you a little video about how to actually start researching your research question for assignment 3. So hopefully you've talked to a teacher in your life and they've given you some kind of question. So now you're going, okay, now I've got this cool question. Now, how do I deal with this? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little explanation and then kind of talk to you about how you can start to attack this. So basically, I'm going to use a friend of mine. He presented, Patrick Burke is his name, and he is from Ireland. He teaches at Mary Immaculate College at the University of Limerick in Ireland, and he presented this at the International Literacy Association. And I got his permission to use his slides and to use his content because I think it's really important that you kind of know why you're doing this assignment and then how to do the assignment. Okay, so basically what usually happens in sorry, I'm just gonna grab my pencil here. In university classes is you have research in university on this side, and then you have practice in school on this side, and there's this big chasm in between where it doesn't connect. That's what I'm trying to do with this assignment. I'm trying to bring what you're researching, what you're learning here at MHC in line with what is going on out there in the world of teaching. So basically, pre-service teachers are saying, who cares? What does this look like in the real life? And teachers are saying, how do I teach X, Y, and Z? How do I help my students? And those kind of things. And so what I want to do is I want to take these and again, bring them together. So what you're doing in this assignment is really actually going to help your teacher friend or colleague or family member to improve their practice in the classroom, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let me get rid of my pencil here. And what did the teacher, so what is the actual teacher who you asked bring to the project? They bring real life literacy or real life experience. We can get rid of the literacy because he was focused on literacy, but we can just talk about real life experience, real life problems, some kind of context and some sort of authenticity to what you are researching. And what are you going to bring it to the project? You're going to be this specialist in child development. You have an interest in applying your research to practice and the ability to review research findings in an area. So you're actually bringing something unique to the table through this assignment. Okay, so why did I want to use this collaborative approach where you're actually working in collaboration with the teacher? Research collaboration between pre-service and practicing teachers have been found to have positive effects. So it helps to improve the collaboration. So you actually kind of have a sense of what's going out there or on out there. It gives you a chance to reflect a little bit. It improves attitudes to inquiry as a process. So it hopefully will give you a little bit more of a positive view of why we are asking you at the post-secondary level to learn how to research so that you can actually find out concepts, ideas that will actually impact teaching and learning in the classroom. And student-centered teacher. We want you to be at the center of all of this. Okay, so now let's jump into, so when you get your question, it's probably very colloquial, like, so somebody might have asked you something like this. So a sherdra is just hello, good morning in Ireland. My name is, I'm a primary school teacher currently teaching second grade in a large urban center. All of my children in my class speak Irish and English, while some also speak a third language at home. I notice that all the children in my class generally enjoy reading informational text. They read significantly more narrative text than informational text during their schooling to date. I am wondering, based on previous research, is this a wider trend in Ireland and abroad? Okay, so you probably got a question that's something like this. So now what your job is as the researcher is to tease out the terms that you will actually then research. So let's have a look at what can that look like. So this is where, all of these education terms that you're learning in Christy's class, in Colleen's class, in my class, in Jason's class, this is where it's going to come in handy. because here you go. So in this particular question, all the children in my class speak Irish English, while some also speak a third language. So that's going to be, you can't really Google third language, right? That doesn't make sense. So you have to put it into terms that you can actually Google and actually find educational information on. So you might change this term into English as an additional language, English language learners, multiculturalism, home language, bilingualism. So now you're seeing that these terms, can you actually Google these terms and put like bilingualism in the elementary classroom? Now you can start to actually research this. Whereas if you just put third language into Google, you're not going to be able to find anything relevant and applicable. Okay, so let's look at another one. So here, while the children in my class generally enjoy, again, that's a colloquial term. That's a term that we use all the time. But when you are an educational researcher, then you're like, oh, I could look up concepts around motivation. I could look up concepts around reading for pleasure. I could look up concepts around engagement. Again, starting to pull all of these educational terms that you are hearing and seeing in my course as well as across your educational courses. Okay, and let's look at one more. So the concept of, I'm wondering if this is a wider trend. So that's when you could say, okay, wider trends. What might wider trends be? They might be national surveys. These are ones specific. These are trends or organizations that look at wider literacy trends in Ireland specifically. You might look at National Assessment of English. You might say, oh, I could just look up reading trends. Okay, starting to get the idea that you have to have some terms that you can actually pull out. This is as you start your research career, this is a word of advice, is write the full reference for any resource that you think you might use. And if you don't end up using it, you've taken, 2 minutes of your time to write out the full reference. So author, full title, journal title, page numbers, editions, websites, anything that you will need for a full reference later. It will save, and I know this from experience, it will save tears later when you are, you finish writing and you go to do your reference list and then you don't have half of the information that you need. Write it all down. Don't worry about particular APA format when you're writing it down the first time, but then you'll have it all to flip into APA format. So I know from experience, it will save you tears later. Okay, so let's take a look at what does this maybe look like with an example. So this was actually an example from one of our past graduates, Jill, and she asked this question of a student last year. So this was her question. I have a class of 15 in grade 3 with one student who is autistic and often cries when he has to get down to work. Then there is another student who is at a grade 2 level. What do you do with these differentiations when teaching them multiplication and division? Okay. So this is where you as the researcher have to go, okay, what are the key elements here that I could pull out to research in order to help Jill? So I would say you can pull out you can start to think, okay, my overall concept is Jill wants information about children with autism. She is talking about differentiation. And she's talking here, if we wanted to put in another word here, about inclusion, right, in the classroom. Also, when she's talking about multiplication and division, she's talking about numeracy skills. So you see how you have to start to think across all of your courses when you are trying to figure out how you're going to research this particular question. Okay, so let's go back to the autism aspect. So if you could put into Google If you put autism in, you're going to just get way too many hits. But if you put something like inclusion of child with autism in elementary classroom, can you see how that's going to probably give you some good hits? If you put in things like differentiated instruction in Alberta education elementary classrooms, again, you want to refine so that you don't have, 10,000 hits, because you don't want to do that. And you might want to put here when you're talking about numeracy, is maybe you want to think about, do you want to focus on the importance of numeracy skills in Alberta in grade 3? Okay, so getting the idea of, now you have this great question from your teacher friend, but you have to now tease out, as the academic researcher, what you're going to write about. Now, you may decide that you find lots and lots of information on children with autism and inclusion of children with autism on the autism spectrum. So then you might want to say, okay, I'm just going to focus on that right now, and then maybe I'll have a chat with my teacher friend about differentiation and numeracy on a different occasion. So you don't have to necessarily answer. If there are like lots of different ways you could go with your research question, you don't necessarily have to answer every single one, because then it gets so watered down that you don't actually give the teacher any new information. So just thought I'd put that out there as you start. Again, you can use your Ed Psych reading list for references. The reading list has some really good places to start that will head you in the right direction. Use your Ed Psych OER end of chapter references. So there are some really good references there. You can use your Ed Foundations textbook, look up Alberta Education, look up Learn Alberta. They have some amazing resources out there. If you are doing ELL, like English language learners, I would look up Reading Rockets, because they have amazing information. And differentiation, I've just given you a couple big documents from Alberta Education and Learn Alberta that might get you going in the right direction. And again, this whole idea that you need to refine the search before going on Google. Again, if you just put in autism, you're not going to get anything that's actually going to be really relevant to what you want for this assignment. Okay, again, this is you just use these citation formatting guides, especially for your visuals. Any visuals that you have in this assignment, you must cite, and you must use the adapted APA formatting on this site. Even if you get it from Creative Commons or like Flickr, something like that, you still, in an academic paper, have to cite it. Okay, hopefully that gives you a little bit a clearer idea of what to do. I've heard some of your questions already, and they're super exciting, and I hope that you'll see the relevance of connecting your research skills to practice out there in the field, because that is really what you will be doing as a teacher all the time. All right, take care, everybody.